Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Lorelai. Now this is the 2019 Harvester Game horror uh, experience that is the third game in what I would refer to as the Cat Ladies trilogy, although I think it's probably chronologically more accurate to call it the Downfall trilogy. The Cat Lady was the first game that I played that was available on Steam, but it chronologically happens after the events of Downfall, which then was kind of remastered just a little bit and shown in and then I played that on my channel. So if you haven't seen any of them, I'd say go watch Downfall, then watch The Cat Lady, because I feel like my experience and my ingestion of the Cat Lady was much better. Both of those games were keyboard only games, if I recall correctly. At least I know the Cat Lady was only keyboard. Maybe Downfall Remastered had mouse controls, but that fairly limited your interaction with the game. It gave definitely a weird experience for me, as I am a PC gamer. Like, I have been for nearly 5, 6, 7 years now. But before that, I was definitely a console gamer, and I am still mostly using a controller to control every kind of game possible, even often point and click adventure games, which are the only kind of games that I'd really think still are justifiably better controlled with a mouse. Uh, well, first person shooters probably are better controlled with a mouse and keyboard if you know how to do it. I just don't know how to do it. I don't have that experience. But this has controller support, so it says press enter to start. I hit something on my controller plugged in. It says press A button. This is made in Unity, which just opens the door to uh, there being some majorly well-designed Lorelai, Harvester games going forward. Here we can also hear that we've got a kind of soundtrack playing at the very beginning. This is way, way better graphics than what was in the Cat Lady, which was a very flat, very unique art style. It felt very close to its own unique art style, best compared to like a horror comic book slash manga, in that it was very flat. Now, it's been a while since I played the Cat Lady or Downfall, so Lorelai as a character is not someone I immediately recognize, but I think, if I'm gonna venture a guess, this is kind of a prequel story of what happens to the Queen of Maggots, and to make her the Queen of Maggots, I think, maybe. But in the Cat Lady trilogy, everything is questionable and everything is from people's own perception and possibly just as an alternate reality of horrors. So every story of this game stands pretty much on its own. I would mostly focus around that. When this first launched, it did give me a launcher option, but it by default set it up to 1080p and fantastic graphics. It's kind of funny, I just got like a 2080 RTX NVIDIA graphics card, and this would have not been the game that I would have thought would take a decent advantage of that. I don't know if there's really much more setup to talk about. The subtitles are on by default. We can look at the options here. English, and I think, yeah, I think the Cat Lady probably is not made by an English person, native English speaker, and subtitles are on. And then controls here. There's keyboard layout 1 and 2, and then an actual inventory, a use button on A, X on exam and walking, left trigger to run, right bumper to combine, select to skip cutscenes, which you wouldn't want to do that. The only thing other to mention here is this is a horror game. There is a reason why I'm picking this game to be part of my second Halloween series, because there's so many really scary horror games that you can't squeeze enough of them in just the month of October. So it's horrific, it's grotesque, it's brutal, it attacks you, attacks people's sanity. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but yeah, it can certainly hurt the player's sanity if they are a weak player, and it attacks the character's sanity, certainly. So it's mental horror and gore, way more than just we're going to see a game where you just see a bunch of zombies and you'd be given a gun and you would just first-person shoot through a bunch of zombies. That's not the Cat Lady trilogy. The Cat Lady trilogy is going to make you really, really suffer, to the point where arguably that it would be weird to see a lot of games even like the Cat Lady trilogy, and that's what makes it stand out and be unique, because there is definitely an extremeness to this. Like, seems like the music's just gonna loop, or we maybe move to a different song. This is also the only trilogy of games that has soundtracks that I actually want to own on Steam, for the Cat Lady and Downfall. Here, you may not even need to buy a soundtrack because it may just all play here. There's also heart in the Cat Lady trilogy, or has been. There are actual people you care about. No, this is the same song looping. So the ending felt impactful, definitely, at the end of the Cat Lady. I really am probably over singing its praises, but honestly probably under singing its praises. It'll be a little sad once we're done with this game, frankly, that there probably won't be any more of the Cat Lady trilogy. I would like to see Harvester Games try some other kinds of games, as they clearly are getting better. And even if they were going to do more horror games, I don't know if you need a connected, long-running series of horror games. It's kind of like horror movies, where if you have a Saw 7, it loses a lot of its impact, whereas if the first Saw movie had been a standalone movie, it would have been better in retrospect. Anyways, that's enough setup. This is definitely what I would say adults only. Don't even think of this game as for mature. Like, I would say, while we probably aren't going to see a huge amount of like sexual content, there may be some horrific nudity, that we've seen that in the past, and there might be some sexual violence, but yeah, this is one I want to particularly scare people away from if you are even a little bit iffy, which is kind of weird because this intro isn't fully scaring away players. The bloody Lorelai label somewhat does that, and the downpour is definitely reminiscent of the British UK environment that seemed to be taking place of the Cat Lady. It was raining for most scenes in that game. Anyways, that's enough setup. Let's start. Warning: game contains scenes of violence and gore, nudity, and strong language. It is suitable only for persons over 18 years and over. They probably should retroactively have added these warnings to the front of the other two games. I think I might actually just play this whole game in the dark too. It's really a game that would probably be better suited in the dark. Now, this cutscene may come out to a slightly lower quality than the title screen.
Something's coming. I can feel it.
I could be wrong. Lorelai actually could be the
Even this pouring rain is trying to warn
girl
me.
with cancer in
But I have
the
no
cat
choice.
lady.
I'll keep going back.
I hope they kind of remind me.
And then I'll leave Roseberry Lane forever. I deserve a better life.
This is definitely a game where I'm gonna listen more than talk. And yeah, some of this is definitely use the left stick or arrow to walk. It is still a flat 2D game, but now with controllers, you're doing a little bit better. And we definitely have more of an effect happening. I will say, if you look at the walk animation, when I just tip it with the mouse, it's not super stop. It's not a smooth stopping animation. Kind of just juts forward. That might be an argument to sticking to the keyboard. But they needed to add controller support. They needed to experiment with that. And they needed to learn how to program games. It would be very weird to see the Cat Lady trilogy end up on a console, though. But yeah, I could imagine it showing up on a tablet or a cell phone.
I'm back.
So I see.
I
The
have
prodigal daughter has returned.
no idea who this
What?
character is. Interesting, the subtitles didn't get some of that text. And then it's saved. So she's a prodigal daughter, as in she left and has come back, and then this mother is obviously a drunk and has a black eye. So
How is my beautiful Lorelai?
Well, I had a weird day. I bathed an old lady, been kissed by a ghost, and I will die tonight, someone's told me.
interesting. So this might be a storyline that happens. Chapter 1, The Prodigal Daughter. This might be storyline that integrates with the cat lady directly instead of
Those old ladies always talk bollocks.
instead
like
of
that.
Downfall being kind of a
Bloody mental,
prequel.
aren't they? Want to talk about it?
dialogue choices. So, more than any other choose your dialogue choice game, I feel like the dialogue actually does matter. No, I don't want to talk about it. It's kind of a weird response for a conversation. Maybe later I'm starving and I stink like a dog. Or immediately start a fight. Yeah. I don't see a reason to immediately start a fight. And I don't see a reason to say no. And when you're in this locked in state, you can't walk anywhere. Lorelai with the roses in her hair kind of looks more like a tango dancer than seemingly a home health carer.
Maybe later. I'm starving, and I stink like a dog.
Well, you know where the bathroom is. But then I want to hear about today, yeah?
There's definitely a level of storytelling that is exceptional in this series for it being willing to really get down in the mud and be graphic and violent and not soft sell it. There definitely have been a lot of stories I've seen, movies, TV shows, where they don't want to show the true horrors. Kind of the difference between if you watch like the movie Silence of the Lambs or Seven versus a serial killer or psychopath showing up on something like CSI or Special Victims Unit or something like that. Let's see. Do we ask or do we just not start? It almost implies that you should just not even ask her about a black eye if it's again, but you should show concern, I think, instead of just ignoring her.
Wait,
And they have a very soft voice acting.
is that a black eye? Did he hit you again?
Don't be silly. I tripped on the carpet.
Hmm.
It's no big deal.
Where is he?
It wasn't him.
He's in a pub, isn't he?
Yes, it's John's night out. Like every Monday. You know that.
It seems like for John, every day's a Monday. Ever since they closed down that stupid brick factory.
So there's just a ton
He'll
of
find a new job soon.
despair,
That's what he's been saying for what
And-
now? A year?
terribleness
Just let it go, will you?
that is shown in this world, and it is shown this way specifically because this is the perspective of the character you're playing as. It's very possible that the world is not how you're observing it. It is just perception is based on the perceiver in a almost magical way. So do we want to go with anger or not caring or just caring? Let's go with caring.
Please, be more careful, Mom.
Interesting jump
I
zoom
will,
there.
babes. I will.
Like
But
that's
don't worry about me.
fairly cinematic.
I'm a tough old bird, me.
There's not a lot of animation
hungry?
that's happening, certainly.
Like a wolf.
Like, I
I've left
think
you
these
some dinner
games
in the
are
kitchen.
pretty much made by
Go,
one or
fill up
two
your
people.
tummy, grab a bath, and we can talk about it later, yeah?
What's for dinner?
It's chicken curry.
Yum.
So now we can actually play this like a real game, which is interesting.
It stinks of cigarette smoke. Still raining.
So here's your running ability. Still jerkiness on the walking animation. In a funny way, I kind of can excuse a lot of what is missing here for the just bold story they're willing to tell. It almost has a quality of what I imagine the first few issues of first few albums of like Marilyn Manson or Nine Inch Nails or yeah, those would be good examples where they were willing to go so wild and so extreme with their wording and imagery that even if they were a little weak on their music playing aspects, nobody's going to really question them on that. The game is going to wildly jump and zooming in and out intentionally to offset you and keep you on your toes.
So smoky in there.
And this has a real grasp on the idea of internal monologue, which you almost never see in games. And see, this is definitely a world where you go through any door and it could take you to a different dimension.
It leads to the living room. This little island of sanity in there is my room. It was my granddad's. Mother sleeps in there with that man. And my baby sister.
And you can definitely see that there's... So who's in this room? Over here.
I should check on Bethany first.
Interesting. So you can't go any further left.
Oh shit! Bethany!
And so here you can see the baby has been ignored. Now, it's worth mentioning without spoiling. I guess I will have to spoil the cat lady. There is definitely a story where a baby was left with the window being open, and it had an allergic reaction and died. So they're being very reminiscent
What's
of that.
my sister doing on the floor? Did she fall out of bed?
That's quite the animation. That would have been a very janky cardboard, almost South Park-esque animation in the first game, in the Cat Lady, or Downfall. But then they always had these little animations. That's still is pretty low res there. We have to admit that is a really, really low res animation. That Unity has no limitations whatsoever on you rendering an image at least 1080p, if not higher. But maybe then also that would have looked
I'll get you out of here.
fairly weird if they had rendered the
promise.
image of the baby at a high resolution, considering how all the other characters have to look the same throughout the entire trilogy. 12 Days of Christmas clock.
All right.
Like, I think you have to tell her.
Beth fell out of bed, and you didn't even notice.
Sweet Jesus. She was on the floor?
Yes, but don't worry. She'll live. So go and have another fag. A glass of sherry, maybe.
See, now you're adding a
Let's
lot
have
of
a fucking
nasty.
party in here.
Lorelai! Is Beth okay?
She can't really blame her for being upset, but
We're all okay, aren't we?
let's see. So are we gonna have a serious talk, or are we gonna just move the fight on?
We need a serious talk.
You're just gonna nag again. Look.
Hmm.
I know that things got a bit out of hand the last couple of weeks. I admit, but
Mom, it's killing me.
don't be such a drama queen. There's no need for that.
Just look how
Can't you see what that man
awful
is doing
the
to you?
mother's face looks.
He
It's so drawn
saved
out.
this family when your father died and left us with nothing. That's what he's done.
This
He's
is
scum.
definitely
He
where
fought for this country.
the whole country,
Even
the whole
imagine
game
the
is
things he went through in Afghanistan.
is more about emotions and interactions. Let's see. Direct insult, not very productive. They're also gonna mess with you here. You have to pick something. Complete waste of space, kind of direct insult. He's ruining our life. I'm sorry, he's an addict, a thug, and an unemployed piece of poop. That seems extreme. I think the best, most direct statement is he's ruining our life.
He is ruining our life. He treats you like shit. And the only reason you're with him is that little fidget in your room, currently growing a nasty bruise on her tiny little head.
It's not as easy as you think, Lorelai.
No, it's very easy, Mum.
And
Two
they're
simple
off
steps.
putting her. They're
Step one,
zooming with the
you
light,
don't jump.
making it bright.
Step 2, we fix what's left of this family. You and me.
I don't want to talk about this tonight.
Let's see. This is where something crazy is probably going to happen.
Yeah, sure. Let's carry on pretending that everything is great.
I'm not going to listen to this. Now go to the kitchen and have your dinner. And please eat at the table like a civilized
I guess
person.
that was the
Mom,
kitchen in that
I
direction.
do feel hungry though.
Look at the mirror. I think there's actually achievements here too. This is interesting because it is slightly panning and zooming in. So if you just use the mirror and stay here long enough, I feel like you are going to see something different. Like a jump scare or something. But boy, is that a slow turn of events. That was just a really, really slow pan, and nothing happened. Maybe something will happen at some point.
That's a bathroom in there.
So, here we got a bathroom. They're definitely trying to have you have an experience now, because this whole house is going to enter almost like a Hellraiser-esque alternate universe, I
These
think, at some
belong to
point.
Mom and John. I'm not using these. I don't want to catch anything.
Yep. Interesting how on a flat 2D plane you end up right in between the toilet and the sink.
I used to love my long hot baths. Then John forbade us to lock the door.
Creepy. It's interesting that the mirrors work. So often in video games they don't work.
Shucks, I forgot to bring my towel.
Wonder if part of the goal is to bathe here. We have a very different kind of room and red lining coming in and out like a heartbeat.
Still proud to be British, eh?
There probably is an element of, how could you best describe it, lack of hope amongst a lot of British people. It's the UK, Britain has kind of a social structure. They don't have a lot of industry. They don't have a lot of things you can become. Oddly, like the number of famous celebrities and actors seems to be fairly repeated and limited, and they all seem to have gone to the fancy schools and had social status to begin with, where the average lower class person probably at best can end up working at a restaurant or something. And that's not super different from the United States or many other countries. I just think that perhaps because the UK has been around longer, people have finally realized that. The social structure definitely is a problem, though. Being potentially born to the wrong class and knowing you're never going to be a politician, you're never going to be the prime minister, you're never going to probably even be a CEO or even a upper management is not helpful.
My little treasure. It never bothered me that I found it in the skip.
There was definitely a sofa in the cat lady. I don't think they're gonna make tons of references. it's very interesting that you can just sit and think and let the camera zoom in on you. It doesn't really take a lot of animation to pull something off like this either. Like, all you have to do is program a simplistic zoom in function and let the music play.
My safe little haven.
Who's Sylvia?
Sylvia and me do not get along. She keeps taking my headphones.
Interesting.
You alright, Sylvia?
Interesting.
Nice headphones. But please ask me next time you want to borrow them, yeah?
Like, this is more characterization than you would see in so many games. Just letting you grow accustomed to the character you're controlling before something happens.
Maybe now that I have a job, I can buy an iPod. But I'd still miss this old friend.
This is obviously dating this game to be before the age of having like cell phones, which is a great time for any horror story. Is to and frankly, most movies are probably better set in a time before cell phones were prevalent. But yeah, they really have to make you care about Lorelai in the situation here. Otherwise, the twists and the events are just not going to work. And in a funny way, the cat lady was probably one of the worst of the trilogies to accomplish that, because you start off meeting the cat lady and she's just a depressed sad sack, and it is fairly hard to want to see her survive and live her life, because even she doesn't want to survive and live her life. But they still managed to make her relatable, to me at least.
Maybe later. Maybe now that I have a job, I can buy an iPod.
So,
but I'd still miss this old friend.
I wanted to double check that everything is here.
It's my bathroom towel. I leave it here in case John tries to use it.
So that's a towel that was in. So we now see we have an inventory.
I have to keep it in my room so nobody else uses it.
We do get different prompts. See, I thought it was showing me that black dress that's hanging on the mirror, covering up the mirror. It's not a good move to have mirrors in bedrooms. That can definitely cause nightmares. At the very least, you don't want them so that you roll over half asleep and see a reflection in it. See, I think what we're doing is we're
Dad gave it to Mum for Christmas 7 years ago.
Setting this up where
I bet she doesn't even remember.
We're gonna bathe and then eat, and then the stepfather is gonna appear, or whatever you want to call him. Can't control time or rewind time. Yeah. And there certainly is something fairly nasty to the thought that you may have to sneak into your own house and sneak around your own house to take a bath, because there's a fear that your stepfather or the new man is gonna interrupt you when you're vulnerable in the bathroom, either to spy on you, or maybe just John has IBS and has to use the toilet a lot. But even that, it's not something that anybody really wants to deal with. So you can see that they faded out to black here, so you're not going to get gratuitous nudity. That doesn't serve the purpose of a horror story. She shut the door when she got in the bath, but she didn't shut the door when she just walked into the bathroom. And so she's fallen asleep, and now we're going into a mirror.
What did she call me? A prodigal daughter? Did the prodigal daughter come back to cry for forgiveness?
Well, the only story I've ever heard about
Well,
was the...
once I'm gone, I'm never coming back.
So she's going to take the baby and leave. Interesting. Go away, coming through. Yeah, he may just be also a drunk that's always got to pee.
Perv.
But she's certainly taking it as a unwelcome assault, for lack of a better term.
It's been empty a lot the last few weeks.
So,
Shitty microwave food. Thanks for the effort,
Interesting.
Mom.
it does
You're
seem
the best.
to jump the music if you use something, so we'll have to be careful about that.
They're £1 a box, I think. I usually eat in my room these days.
So we've now got two things in
Chicken tikka
inventory.
masala with rice. Cooking instructions. Pierce film lid several times. Heat on full power for 5 minutes. Did they even eat anything today? At least there are no dirty dishes waiting for me tonight.
Interesting, I hit the A button once and it triggered twice. Yeah, her kidnapping her sister, though, is usually not the right answer, but it honestly might trigger some kind of social services in the UK. And frankly, if she did it now, while the mother has a black eye and the father's drunk, that probably would gain more evidence than if they waited several days and the black eye has faded and the father is sobered up. And if they do wait several days to report the child missing, then that just puts more evidence that they're bad parents.
A secret drawer full of useful stuff. A secret drawer full of useful stuff.
We're getting some repetitive stuff, dialogue. But we're going to have to pretty much examine everything, otherwise we're going to miss out on a significant amount of dialogue. And while this game isn't short, it's also not long. I'd put it kind of fairly medium for a horror game or a point and click adventure. Although, is this really a point and click adventure? I don't think so when you have a controller support enabled, because I can't even get my mouse cursor from my second monitor over to the first monitor. So we go right bump, curry, and fork. And it's not working. Also, we didn't actually use the towel.
Done. Someone's been making cheese on toast.
In a microwave? That's not gonna work well. Use chicken curry on microwave. The massive amount of just alcohol bottles definitely shows that if they could get social services in here, they probably could act.
Start a new life.
We can definitely see how Lorelai
They'll
is
never see me again.
fantasizing. Kind of a childish fantasy. She barely got a job, and she's already planning on running away.
I usually eat in my room these days.
She would be better off just calling, what is it, 999 in the UK? just calling the police or calling social services and having them show up, making a report.
I might as well listen to Mom for once and eat at the table.
It's really hard to support a woman who is
Dad always made
so
his own curry.
willingly allowing
Things were good
herself
back then.
to fall apart and be abused.
He never drank.
But blaming
He
someone
even
who
quit
has a
smoking when I
problem
was born.
is not going to help her in the long run.
When I was 10, we actually played Final fucking Fantasy VII together. Through the
7?
end. I cried when Aerith died. We both did.
So that's
God, I miss him.
they're showing like a PlayStation or a Dreamcast there. It looks like a Dreamcast. That's an odd narrowing of the timeline and the gap there, because if I was to look at the time that the iPod 1 came out and look at the timeline in which Final Fantasy VII came out, and then look at the age of Lorelai, her being 10 when Final Fantasy VII came out, and then whenever the iPod came out, would put her probably older than what she is supposed to look like. Like I imagine she's supposed to be 18 years old, 19 years old, maybe 20. If you start getting to the point where she's like 21, 22, 23, still living with her parents or abusive, that's questionable. I'm just waiting for one big twist to happen, and then we will probably call it a day. Seemingly we can just walk wherever we want. So are we supposed to call it a night? Or are we supposed to go back in the other room and have a conversation? Well, let's see what happens if we use the hall.
So smoky in there.
Remember, she did say...
I just love this part.
She did say she wanted to talk to you. So now would be the time to have that conversation, I think. But I don't think we're going to have that conversation.
It leads to the hallway.
If we were just to leave.
Maybe later. I've only just come back.
Yeah, you've bathed, you've eaten. You said you were going to talk to her. That isn't obviously going to happen. The father-in-law, or whatever, stepfather, replacement father, seems to be somewhere in the place, but kind of hidden away too. See if we...
Dad gave it to Mum for Christmas 7 years ago. I bet she doesn't even remember.
I wonder if that was a different prompt. There's not really a game where time should move linearly and normally. So I would kind of expect, once I've activated everything, for something to be triggered.
They're both doing my head in.
Yep.
But I know what I need. Junkie brush.
That's a made-up band.
Music is the only thing louder than the screaming inside my
Although
head.
maybe that's a real band that did the sound effects. Did the soundtrack. Alright, so will we get yelled at if we don't take the headphones?
Sylvia and me do not get along. She keeps taking my headphones.
Uh, oddly though, if these headphones,
Batteries are dead. That's just flippin' fantastic.
okay. So let's go get batteries from the junk drawer. So it's all very normal thing, and I think the big twist here is that we're gonna lie down and go to sleep, and then we're gonna get stabbed.
A secret drawer full of useful stuff.
Alright, so now let's combine that with that.
Voila.
And now, wow, we, I guess, aren't even gonna make it to the bed. Okay, so...
Alright, gorgeous.
You smell like a brewery.
Yeah, you're gonna start a
I'll
fight.
get a couple of pints down to the dog. But I bought a little bottle of red on the way back. Do you want some?
No thanks.
Well, that's more for me then. What are you up to?
Just getting some batteries.
Batteries? Nah. Well, it all makes sense now.
What does?
These strange vibrations every night coming from your room. These walls are thin, you know.
They're for my headphones.
No need to lie. It's
So,
very
yeah.
normal. You know, when a girl like you gets to a certain age,
He's
but
a
if you
pervert.
need help, you know.
No thanks.
Yeah, try not to enrage a drunk alcoholic. And seemingly he's just gonna stand there, which is better than him just being missing in the house somewhere, which is, I think, slightly creepier. Alright, why headphones use on stereo? How the headphones connect, I don't know if they're like UHF or if they're like VHF or what, or infrared. See, this is the point where she could easily not have focus, and the mother could be getting murdered, or the baby sister could be being murdered right now. And yeah, you're getting a late intro. Once again, definitely showing you what the game is going to be. Michalski, or yeah, so it is basically one person that's made these games. Yeah.
Huh? What a dream.
So now we are into the twist. The game automatically saves. So if I was going to make an extra save, I could at any point. And they are just kind of very basic saves, but you really don't need anything more than that. It would be nice if it made little screenshots showing you where you were in a game, but that's fine. I assume you can make more than one save and one autosave. Yep. So horrific things are still to come, and they are just teased it. It is so interesting. I would say weird, but it really is intriguing the way these stories are told. And I really want to see Michalski, or maybe I'm mispronouncing his name. I want to see everything he as a creator can make, more than I want to even see Harvester games, because there's been some Harvester games that I don't think were actually made by him, and I don't think were particularly that good. But he's got kind of this very unique, very different way of thinking, and that tells a very different type of story. And uniqueness and variety is something I'm always on the lookout for. Anyways, I'm going to end this episode here. This is almost a soft intro. It's only going to get worse from this point, almost certainly. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Now, here's a problem with playing a game in the dark is I cannot see the buttons on my keyboard to stop recording. All that stuff helps me with YouTube if you do like, share, and subscribe. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites so you get notifications when I have new videos, there's a bunch of links down below in the description. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a gift card or a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.